My beautiful little campsite along the Granite Canyon down the Hoback River. Beautiful because it allows me to park right next to the water, which is a magnificent way to sleep. It's a little too close to the road, which is not too much of a problem. That bridge is right where the little Granite Canyon comes out, so it's relatively close to the main highway 191 going south. I arrived at Green River Lakes on a terribly rutted long road in which 10 miles an hour is the normal average max speed. I got here around 12 noon, made a quick circuit down towards the water, and you're not permitted to park there, just drop your boat off. And there are facilities for hikers parking and horse people parking. Look at some of the vistas of the mountains that I can see from here, and these are not the spectacular views of mountains that you have from just before you get to the wilderness area. It's interesting looking way up on top here. This mountain and all of these here seem to be so rugged with scree, and yet there's this one spot here where it seems to be a almost beautifully curved, sculpted, smooth surface with some kind of runoff that's painted it black a bit, like you'd see in the desert. And yet over here a little knoll or knob, and over here a little runoff area where there are trees, but the coloration of red for some reason. And again, while these are nice high steep mountains, nothing compares to the view up the lake. Now I've turned the opposite direction, which is probably a little bit south, a little bit southwest. What we're looking at here is that this portion of the Earth's surface has been faulted on the left side, running in a diagonal from lower left to upper right. And this side that I'm on of that line of the ridge of mountains has been pivoting point for pushing that up. So it'd be like if we were on the Idaho side looking at the Tetons. But if I can get in here close, you'll get a sense of how this was once the great plateau, or the great, not plateau, but bottom of the lake or ocean, inland sea of the western part of the United States. And here even more so, if the sun and shadows don't obliterate it in the camera, you'll see the layers. That white down at the bottom is a big slab of snow that still remains from the winter. And this is the federal campground area, probably half a mile away from the lake, without many views of anything. This is the spectacular view looking straight down the lake. Up there you see what is apparently called the lodge, which, believe it or not, is where the caretaker lives. Tell me, is this a spectacular place to spend the summer? Now I'll pan around slowly, full 360, just so you can get the context. I recognize that little knoll right dead center at the top. The little knob that I was videoing earlier this afternoon. And the drive up here is, my comment to myself was, this is the real West. It was so beautiful, with the Green River going down through a relatively broad valley, with hills and mountains off on either side. There's another lake that continues on there. I don't know if you can reach it by canoe without portaging it. Find out tomorrow morning. It's so tranquil right now. I wish that I had come out this evening, but I felt lazy, so I stayed lazy until I got this little moment of inspiration. But I can stay here for several days. Now we'll climb up into the mountains the easy way. Look at some of these features. It'd be fun to hike up that slanted bench, if you will, up to the pinnacle. This is so remote and grand and an area that it almost seems to me it should be somewhere else. I think we get so enamored with Jackson Hole and the Tetons that we can't imagine there can be anything else different but equally spectacular. It must have been just a chunk of land that didn't get bent, but somehow got thrusted up nevertheless. Wonder if mountain climbers have climbed up that, walked on the top. Looks like the place they'd put a car commercial. Looks like one layer just slid off over time, leaving that sharp. The actual Forest Service. This big sweeping valley with this nice sized river going down through it is, to me, what at least symbolizes one image of the West that I have. Another slow sweep back down this valley. Beautiful place for fisher people. Just starting down the lake, starting to cloud over quite a bit, so it'll be interesting to see how the day works out. It's about 9 o'clock, 9:30. Up there is where I began. Now, this is the stream that connects the two lakes. And I got out of the boat and thought I would walk up through this grassy little valley, if you will, between, and just see what it looks like, how far I have to go to get to that lake. I didn't bring any bear spray, and this looks like beautiful bear habitat. You can see here a trail that goes along the side of the stream. I don't know if it's used by fisher persons, but I'm pretty sure it's used by moose or elk, because I can feel under my water shoes what feel like the impressions of footprints. And this is a little access to the river, and it's smooth. There are no real prints in it. And there's a path that leads away, as you can see right here. And I'm just guessing it's probably a beaver that goes over to that patch of willows and gets more fodder for its house and for feed in the winter. And there I bet are some of its tracks. I'm now on the other lake after pulling up my kayak up the river a good part and riding it a good part. I have to paddle here, keep hitting these rocks here. Hold on a second. So anyway, here we are. Pretty spectacular up here. Reminds me of not Banff Glacier National Park, on the lakes that are up in the northwest part of the park. Most people don't get to those. So my goal now is to get to the end of the lake here, and then paddle back and get down the stream without tipping over, and then back down the other lake. Well, this is the end of the lake. Spectacular view it is from here. Some older folks, well, a couple younger than I and a couple older than I up here to go fishing. Don't know whether they're camped nearby and have just kind of paddled down for this fishing or not. Imagine what this is like in the winter. And there must be people who, for the challenge if nothing else, will come up here in the winter. Spectacular wilderness spot that's surprisingly accessible. Up there, that's in that smoke-shrouded valley, is Green River Lakes. I spent the night camped on this little promontory next to the Green River. And I'm videoing this just so I can remember the place I spent in several hours spying on the cowboy that lives over in that little ranchette there. Looking at the birds and the moose and other critters I saw. This van is so absolutely perfect for doing this kind of thing. Spend the night here with all the accoutrements of